Wise shall he seem who well can question, and also answer well. Naught is concealed that men may say among the sons of men. Hey everybody, it's Jeremy, and welcome back to turn 28 of Aries. I'm going to apologize in advance. I am exhausted. It's been a rough week. This is coming off of So this is the first turn after the big patch that took down all of the Dom games. The one that made the recruitment, auto recruitment, like, do weird things like continue under siege and some weird infinite money loops and a bunch of other little stuff, but those were the main ones. So most of the Dominion's world has been paused for about a week and a half. We are just now getting into the swing of things, and unfortunately at the same time, maybe fortunately, my computer went on the fritz. So I'm also coming off of the end of spending a lot of money and doing a whole lot of computer work, trying to get things fixed and back up and running. Fortunately, right, the patch is out, so things are mostly fixed and working now, which is great. And fortunately, my computer is now up and running. It's just these things are all coalescing at the same time, and I am exhausted after working and then working through all the computer issues and that. So I might not make the smartest of choices right now, but I'm going to do my best. As you can see, I'm the last person to finish the turn. I only have 4 hours left, so I'm gonna jump in and try to make sure that I don't do stupid things. So we do have a message from host. So Ulm did have a little bit of the cheat engine or the cheating detection did catch a scenario there, but we're all kind of aware of this, so it's no big deal. It's fine. We have our messenger, which was this. We choke on our own blood. And then we did a bunch of things, right? So we had Norna 3 empower herself in Astral. We did Sloth of Bears reanimation twice, Sloth of Bears twice. And we had a couple battles. Let's check them out. So we've got little raiding party here. Comes in on 1 PD. Easy peasy. Hey, I think we actually got him without any losses. Nope, I lied completely. We lost twice. Or lost 2. Not a big deal. We also had a little raiding party in Lomark, so no big here. And then our undefended province in the Desert of the Cliff Dwellers. I forgot to put anything on that. That's my bad. I'm trying to make sure that I'm remembering to put things on. We have a battle in Remire where we are, again, just killing some PD. No big deal. And then we had an unexpected event. We have a fertility cult. So I actually checked around. So there's a fertility cult here, here, and here. Actually, so I checked these out. That's pretty rough. Pretty rough stuff for Ulm, or for what remains of Ulm. So, what else do we have going on? We have a event in 3 months' time. Thaumaturgy rituals will be enhanced, so that's cool. We're under siege in Utgard. Our walls are damaged. We are destroying the walls and mighty pillars. Fantastic. So again, we'll go through the kind of concept of different fronts: the Ulmish front, the Defaros front, and the Utgard front. Okay, so down in the Ulmish front, we are consolidating our forces. We have the chance to kind of like come here, but we're going to pop this fort probably next turn, and I would like to go ahead and assault it and try to get it out of the way. We have 43 units here with King 1. We're bringing in another 15 with Hearse 4. We're bringing in another 18 with Hearse 1. Now he had 40-ish Ulmish Rangers the last time we checked. We've got a bunch of shields. Hopefully that is going to do the deed for us. If it doesn't Kind of just what the situation is. So that's the Olmish front, and we're continuing to research down here. We do not have the income for another Seath Kona. We had to make a lot of harsh choices, I feel like, this turn. Trying to put in one PD where I remember to. Okay, the Defaros front. We're actually going to come back to the Defaros front. I think it's probably the most interesting front at the moment. We're going to pop up to the Utgard front real quick. What are we doing? We're researching. And we're pretty much researching across the board with everything, because if we do, that gives us just enough to pop into Evocation 4, right? Which is going to get us Nether Bolts, basically. It doesn't get us really much else. It gets us on the way to other things, but really it's Nether Bolts. And why do I give a shit about Nether Bolts? Nether Bolts honestly isn't that great. Except in this situation where I'm potentially going to teleport my Nornas out and use Scrotty as Turbo Communion slaves, right? Then I have all of these Seath Konas that I don't want to put into a communion because they'll die, basically, right? The point of having the Scrotty as Turbo Communion slaves is to have them just not die. Having Nether Bolts available is going to allow my Seath Kona something to do, right? Obviously, Nether Darts is ridiculously awesome. If we could get there, that would be great. That's pretty much a pipe dream at this point, though. So I want to have something for my Seaths to be able to spam that I think is going to be somewhat effective, right? This has a decent range. 35 is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And keep in mind, the Seaths are not strong enough to Mind Burn on their own, right? The damage is fantastic, right? It's armor piercing. It's 20 damage. Fatigue cost is pretty great. And it's magic resistance negates, which is, would be better if it was nothing negates, but whatever. This is something that if I have 10 or 15 Seaths spamming out in a line, it can actually do a fair chunk of damage, right? If you take 10 Seaths spamming at 50 times, right? 50 times 5 times, that's 50 casts. 50 casts is a butt ton of damage. Granted, it's only an AoE 1, right? But I mean that can hit interesting scenarios, right? So that's basically why we're going for that. It's probably not the smartest move at the moment, but I don't honestly feel like I have a lot of crazy smart moves. Alternatively, I could try to start rushing down Thaumaturgy to try to get to Soul Slay. It's just yeah, I don't know that there's a lot to be done at the moment. So that's what we're doing in Utgard, is we're researching with everyone. I wanted to continue summoning, right? Just to try to delay this siege as much as possible. But more than likely, they're going to crack it next turn. Or the turn after that, regardless. Like, even if I summoned this turn and they didn't crack it this turn, they would still, even with the reinforcements that I summoned, they would still almost guaranteed crack it the next turn. So I'm not really buying myself additional time by spending gems to summon on this turn, right? So I would rather research and go from there. We're going to come back to Air Force One because there is one thing that I wanted to do that I just can't eke out with the level of research that I have. So I had to make a decision. And it wasn't an easy one. We're also moving Hearst 2 with his little raiding force back towards the Waywoods. In Waywoods, we are recruiting some more Javelinists and another Seath Kona. Okay? Actually, I'm probably going to change my mind there. Probably going to put this Seath Kona down here in home. Because I do need to have some, basically like a backup force. Or a force that I'm researching with. Waywoods is probably going to get hit pretty soon. So I want to be cautious about that, basically. Okay, so I said the Defaros front was probably the most interesting front. So let's take a look at what's actually happening here. Realistically, not a lot is happening. Everyone's researching. Everyone's researching, trying to hit that evocation 4 goal, right? But we do have a couple of interesting interactions happening. One thing that's interesting that's happening is my Scrotty are actually in human form, and they're in human form because they have 4 more research in human form than they do in their wolf form, right? So this is actually giving me just enough research to bump me over. I'm also using the water bracelet to give myself an extra 2 research points. So those are clever. I say clever. Those are things that players should be doing, right? They should be looking at, can I eke out a little bit of research here or there? And the whole point, the whole reason why I was trying to eke out all of this research was I was trying to get Air Force One to forge me a chainmail of displacements. Now the chainmail of displacement was going to go on Gunloth, right? It was going to replace his black steel plate. It is 2 more protection, and it's 4 more defense, because this is a -1 penalty and the displacement is a 3. So it would gain him 4 defense. So he'd go up to 23 protection and 21 defense, which is pretty good, right? And a single item, or swapping a single item, that's pretty nice. So that was kind of the game plan that we were going to go for there. Unfortunately, we just can't eke it out. Air Force One is 13 research, and we just slide in underneath. No matter what we try to do, we just slide in underneath. So couldn't do that one. What else is happening? Really not a lot. We're recruiting. We're trying to finish. Next turn, we should finish off the Scrotty, and we'll get another Seathkona. That Scrotty with Fjallar will be our Turbo Communion slaves, right? And this is actually a big deal. And then we're getting a whole bunch of Javelinists to continue to supplement our armies, right? Trying to get as many Javelinists as we can to do what we can. There is one big thing that was potentially an option this turn. And again, everything I could pull the trigger and I could just do it, right? But we are 1-2 turns away from his capital with a very large army, with an army that has 640 siege strength. We could potentially pop this in 2 turns. And what we could do, right, is we could move here and here, so turn 1, turn 2, and then we could teleport in our Nornas on top of it to reinforce. Like, we could bring magic items, we could bring in Air Force One, right? We could do a lot of things, and it could be kind of nasty. The issue is that means we move before this Scrotty is arrived and ready, right? That's assuming that Utgard doesn't get cracked next turn and stormed the turn after that, right? Because then my Nornas would have to teleport here or somewhere else, and they'd be at most a turn, or they'd be at least a turn behind, right? Which isn't good. And I mean, so here's the scenario, right? This move, if successful, I could just run rampant in his interior and cause a lot of damage. And that could ruin the game for Gath. But here's the scenario. I'm not out to ruin the game for Gath right now. I'm out to keep my game alive, right? So I'm in a phase where Gath is going to win this war. And I can either take measures to mitigate my losses for as long as possible in the hopes that Atlantis or Vadheim or Erythia come into the mix. Or I can strike out at Gath and try to deal as much damage as I possibly can. Right? I think I'm going to go with the first choice for now. And honestly, that's probably going to mean that my window is closing. But there is the chance that Gath pressures me and then starts to get pressured himself, and that I can take things back. That may or may not happen. It's probably not going to happen. I'm gonna be realistic, right? More than likely, Gath is going to take Utgard, and he's going to slowly pressure down. He's going to take Defaros. I'm going to lose another big battle, and little by little, probably not very much little by little, probably within the next 10 to 15 turns, I'll be all but gone, right? That's possible. But it's also possible that within the next 10 to 15 turns, Gath is hit from multiple sides, and I'm pushed back to Ulm, or I'm pushed back to Copper Woods, right? And if I have enough of a standing force at that time, there's Gath might legitimately be like, okay, look, you can start taking stuff back, just don't come into my lands. And honestly, at that point, I'll probably take him off on the offer. If so, basically, an army running rampant in his lands could screw him over, but it does nothing for my game. Right? It just gives me that in-game gloating feel of like, well, I lost, but at least I hurt the guy who took me out. Okay? Versus, I lost, which I probably will, but I went out trying to make smart decisions, looking for an opportunity to get back into the game. Normally, I would be all for raiding against him, but he's got too much stuff here right now, and we've seen, like, I could probably take more of a fight, honestly, especially now that I've completed the Alteration 4 research goal. So I now have things like Swarm and Body Ethereal. So I have other things that my casters might cast. But after the panic incident, I'm kind of hesitant to rely on my communions in the way that I was attempting to rely on them. And I'm kind of looking for opportunities. Again, this is why I'm going for the Nether Darts, right? I'm trying to look for opportunities to utilize my casters and have them be effective, and then use a couple of my Nornas and a Turbo Communion with the Scrotty to do the Skelly spam, right? So we'll see how things go, right? Again, I'm assuming that this is just going to be the slow decline. It is turn 28, but I'm hopeful that my neighbors, or not my neighbors, but Gath's neighbors, right? Atlantis and Vadheim. I know Atlantis sees it, right? But I hope that Vadheim and Erythia see how damn big Gath is, right? I mean, Midgard's big too, but how damn big Gath is, and that they don't just let him eat, right? Not for free. Take some of his borderlands, take some of this stuff, right? Don't let him hold everything that he has and eat me for free. Because that's basically what it's turned into, unfortunately, because of that crushing panic loss. Okay, so I've bellyached enough at this point. I thought I said this was going to be a short turn, but I've talked a lot about hypotheticals. This is what we're doing, right? We're holding Defaros. We're researching up to a goal of evocation, and part of the reason why we're not moving is because I think it's a gut reaction decision to hurt him rather than try to help me. I think staying put and researching is going to help me in the long run, or at least give me more options to play with. We're recruiting more things. We're trying to get a Scrotty for a Turbo Communion. And we will see how things go. Alright, so sending a message out to everyone. This one is... I feel appropriate, right? This whole turns message has felt very appropriate. But the well waits and watches. So, see how it goes. And actually, I've had a lot of correspondence going, and if I had more time, I probably would be shooting out more correspondence to Atlantis and Vatiheim and Lemuria and Erythia, trying to like get them into the against Gath concept. I'm yawning though. Like I've had an exhausting day, so I just don't have the time and energy to jump into it right now. So we're gonna see how it goes. I've spoken to all of them already. Fingers crossed. I will see you all next time.